And we're waiting for the little blue light to pop on there to say that we're live. Good morning, everyone. Here we are again on our lovely YouTube channel. And the topic today is, yes, I know it's weird, isn't it? When you looked at it, did you think, when you saw the notification, trains and boats and planes, did you think, what? What is that about? Well, what it's about is, can the spirit world travel with us? Do they travel with us on boats, planes, or trains? I know that we had one lovely lady who thought it was that I was talking about the I don't know what, the ethereal trains, boats, and planes or something. You know, are there trains, boats, and planes in the spirit world? No. Where the topic today is, if we're on a boat or a plane or a train, if we're up in the sky, you'd think we would be closer to the spirit world, but are we? Are we closer or not? You would think, wouldn't you, that we might be, but do the spirit world, are they able to contact us when we are moving, we are traveling at speed? Are they there with us? To start this topic off, I think we're going to have one question from Carolyn, and it's going to be story time today. So I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 stories of my experiences of when the spirit world were able to connect with me as I was on a train or a boat or a plane or what have you. So I'm going to recount some of those experiences to let you know, really it's about letting you know just how much the spirit world is with us, just how easily they can access us no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter whether we're on a plane, a boat, or a train or whatever, that they can access us, and therefore we can actually access them too. And so let's start with the first question, Carolyn, can we? And then we're going to go, then it's going to be story time. And then we are also going to be taking your questions. Sorry if you see the camera moving or if something's funny going on. That was just me playing with it. We are live, just me playing with the thing. So first, before we do that, let's say good morning to Gregor, who is standing as always by my right side. Next to me on the sofa we have Peggy. Say good morning, Peggy.
Good morning, Peggy.
And we also have, of course, as usual, Carolyn. Say good morning, Carolyn. You're not going to say good morning, Carolyn, are you? You're just going to say good morning. All right, so we can see what today is going to be bringing. I gave Peggy a nice little bit of news this morning, just before we get going. When she walked in the door and we sort of chatted about this and that. And then I said to her, look, here's the deal. This afternoon, I'm making, preparing for a curry because I have to make the curry paste and all the rest of it. And I'm going to make a chocolate cake because I have people coming tomorrow, and I have a little boy, not my little boy, but I have a little 4-year-old boy coming tomorrow. I'm told loves chocolate cake. So I said, I'm making chocolate cakes. Anybody want to help me? Peggy said, yes, me, because I can never get my cakes out of the pan. And so we're having a cooking lesson this afternoon, and we might even video some of it for you, and so you can join in with us there. So keep looking at Facebook, keep being posted, we'll post it on Facebook, we'll maybe put it on YouTube, we'll see how well it does. If the cake goes flat and sinks, I'm not filming it, you won't see it, but I don't think it will because I'm pretty good at this. Chocker mocha, this is my term for it, it's my recipe, chocker mocha, special chocker mocha cake. So that's what we're doing this afternoon. Okay, let's go with our questions, shall we? So
Question is from Maggie.
hello, Maggie. Oh,
yep.
Oh, wait. You see, you think we're getting to questions, but I have something to say to Maggie before we go any further. Maggie, are you trying to fatten me up? Are you trying to make me into a huge, huge person? Thank you. Thank you. For those of you who wonder what on earth I'm talking about, Maggie sent me some special jars of chocolate fudge. We've got all different kinds of chocolate fudge for toppings, and I usually make my own fudge, and I usually do I don't usually buy in. It's like I do use curry powder, but when I'm making a curry, a real curry, I'll make my own chicken paste with lemongrass and garlic and all that stuff. But here I'm faced with these jars of chocolate fudge, and my daughter and my grandson are coming in couple of weeks. Oh God, are we going to have fun with those fudge things? So Maggie, thank you. Also, there's a small box which I'm not sharing with anyone of chocolate cherries.
Yeah, they are cherries.
I know they are. I ate one yesterday. I had one yesterday, just one little one yesterday. I'm probably going to have another one today. Oh my goodness, they are delicious. Maggie, thank you. And I did, you'll think I'm so generous. Yes. Carolyn thought I was very generous because I gave her this little pot of milk chocolate something or another. What is it? Fruit dip. I mean, really. And she took it home with her and she said, oh, you're so generous and so nice to share. And as she's taking it away, I'm thinking to myself, my conscience slightly pricking, but only slightly pricking. I'm thinking, I'm not really being generous at all. I don't like milk chocolate. So, hey, yeah, it's no big deal to me. But you loved it, right? You had it with bananas. So, Maggie, oh, sweet of you and how nice of you. Thank you so, so much. I'm calling it my early birthday present. When my daughter and my grandson come for my birthday, they're going to share with me and I'll let you know how it all tastes. Thank you, darling. And yes, and we have a question from Maggie. Okay, let's go for it then.
So she says, I truly think they have super transportation.
Oh, you're the one, right?
But they go the slower pace to take in their surroundings and reflect. But I do wonder if they have to stand in line to await the super boats, trains, and planes.
I love this question.
She says, why do I feel like I have to add, and bears, oh my?
Well, it's so funny you should do that because my friend has a little grandson and he's 3. And my grandson, we do the yellow brick road thing, you know. I get hold of his hand and we walk the yellow brick road and we follow the yellow brick road. Those of you who know the Wizard of Oz know this, follow the yellow brick road. And then at some point it says lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, lions, tigers, and bears. And my grandson loves it. But no, thank you for adding that, Maggie. I didn't know what you were talking about. Okay, super what? Super
transportation.
No. Here's how we move about in the spirit world. Maybe we should just save that for another time. But I'll tell you, here's how we do travel in the spirit world. You remember we've had many discussions, and those of you who are only just watching and are new to this, these little episodes that we do, if you go along, you can see, you know, astral travel. You can see, you know, we talk about thoughts and the power of thought. The power of the mind is the most powerful and positive thing we have. When you move from place to place in the spirit world, it literally is a bit like a beam me up Scotty moment. This has been my experience. You can actually fly and have the sensation of flying in your etheric body, the spirit body, not the physical body, obviously, but the etheric spirit body. You can literally fly and have that experience of flying. But the easiest way, the quickest way, and of course the most convenient way is think it, and it is. So if you think the beach, you're on the beach. If you think the coal mine, you're in the coal mine. If you, whatever you're thinking, you can literally, using the power and the energy that you have in your etheric body, you literally can move from space to space, place to place, person to person. If you want to meet with someone, you send out your thoughts, that person, they receive them, and before you know it, you're together. I mean, and remember also, we did talk on one of these shows about time, and time being of a very different essence and a very different thing than we know time on this earth plane. So time, you know, here, 1 second, you know, you count whatever it is, 60 seconds in 1 minute, but there, you know, we're dealing with if there is such a thing as a nanosecond or a nano or an, I don't know, the scientists probably have a name for that, nanoseconds or whatever it is, that the spirit world bases time in a different frame and different way than we do here. So as far as I'm aware, and no one has ever told me, and I'm asking Grey Eagle, and he's laughing at the idea of this, but it's actually not a bad idea. You know, you can sort of see these ghost ships and ghost trains and things going along. As far as I'm aware, there aren't any of those. The transport is our own self, our own mind, and our own etheric or spirit body that we have. Okay. And I can't remember the rest of the question, but I'm going to pass on it anyway. Do we have any other questions coming in here? I think we do, because I can see these two girls, right? They're sitting next to me. I should have put the camera on them because they got their heads together and they're pointing, because they're not allowed to speak and whisper. They can speak, but they're not allowed to whisper, 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 because I'm so nosy. I want to know what they're talking about and I forget what I'm supposed to be talking about. Peggy, are you going to give us the next question then?
Actually, it's not a question. Sarah made a comment. She says,
Hi, Sarah.
Or it could be a question. When I'm half awake, I think I see swirling tunnels in my ceiling. Not sure if it's if I'm imagining.
No, I don't think so, darling. I think, you know, when I travel, and I don't do it as often as I used to, but I do travel from time to time. The first thing, when I first started traveling, I noticed this very weird thing. When I came back from where it was I'd been to, and you can read that story. I'm not sure if it's in The Eagle and the Rose or not, but anyway, it's one of the books. You have to read them all. When I first did my astral traveling, when I came actually back into my body, and I think it is the story in The Eagle and the Rose, and I came back in and I actually felt my body jump with the force of me coming back in there. But at that same moment, I was facing or looking towards the corner of the ceiling in my bedroom. And not only could I see, but I could hear, and it was like a perfect sphere. And the only way that I can describe it was that it looked inside this sphere, which was a perfect sphere. It looked like sort of pale gray and darker gray bees almost. And the way I'm saying bees is because it was buzz, buzzing, 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 like you would hear a bee, buzz, 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 like that. Well, that was the energy that I was hearing, and that was the tunnel that I'd just come through, just come from. So when we see the tunnel, we can, as we're passing, a lot of people will tell us how they see the tunnel. A lot of people will say that they see people clearly standing just inside the tunnel. But no, don't doubt what you're seeing, Sarah, because, you know, I'd be open to it. Remember, apply the 3-time rule. If you see it once, question it. If you see it twice, it's possible. If you see it the 3rd time, just go with it and accept it and go with the flow and, you know, accept it for what it is until such time as it's more confirmed or less confirmed. But just go with it. Apply the 3-time rule, darling. Do we have any other questions here? Anybody coming in?
So we have some comments. Ambra says she loves your videos.
Thank you, Ambra.
And we also have, I'm going to pronounce this right, hopefully, and Andronicus. Rosemary, she says, very pretty, locket you have on today.
It's an old Victorian thing that I just picked up somewhere or another, and the chain is an old Belcher, and it's they're both very, very old. I love Victorian stuff, so thank you for that.
Okay, and then Corinne says, good morning, beautiful ladies.
Good morning, Corinne.
And I would like to add, she says, have a wonderful birthday and enjoy your family when they come.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's my birthday. I'm going to put it out there, right? And feel free to send me gold, diamonds, emeralds. I like emeralds. It's a nice emerald. You know, whatever you feel like, you know, just, I'm just kidding. Dark chocolate, I love, you know. White orchids, I love. I'm just kidding. But it is my birthday on the 19th of May. Woohoo! And so thank you for that. Next, anybody else?
And then Deborah Matz also says, hi, Rosemary.
Deborah, hi.
We're having the unveiling for my dad on Sunday. Will he be there with us?
Go ahead and read
Deborah. Yep, she says, and then she just sent in the second question. My family was on my dad's boat.
What was what?
My family was on my dad's boat, and a feather floated to us. There wasn't a bird in the sky, and the ocean was clear. We were anchored, and in the ocean was so clean. What was that? Was that a sign?
Oh, come on. Are you really asking me? Deborah, are you really asking me? You know, you're asking me the road you know. And perhaps you're just needing confirmation. So yes, your father is with you, and yes, in fact, Grey Eagle is coming here, and you just mentioned an unveiling, but according to Grey Eagle and your dad, who might be somewhere in the background there also, there's another special occasion coming up. It's a birthday or an anniversary coming very, very soon, around the time of that unveiling. And so we just would like to wish happy birthday or happy anniversary to whoever that is as well. So you might want to think on that. So actually, not only was your dad with you on the boat, which is the subject of today, can they travel with us? Can they actually be on the boat, or are they waiting at the airport when we get off the plane? Or yes. And without a doubt, that feather, we know, you know this. And so I'm going to confirm to you your inner knowledge and your inner knowing. Yes, yes, and yes. That's nice for you. So keep watching. If your father is using if your dad, just been corrected there, if your dad is using feathers as his sign or symbol to let you know, then just watch for them. Just, I have a wonderful story, apropos of nothing at all, about a friend of mine who was sitting in his office one day, and his office is like, I don't know, 30 floors up in the sky. And he's sitting there, and all of a sudden, he's having an issue, and he's having an issue with things. He's already called me, and I've said, look, whoever it is, I can't remember who it was, in the spirit world is what? Do you remember this or no? Okay. So whoever this is just sort of, will let you know one way or another. And he called me frantically, and he said, I just looked out of my office window. He said, there are feathers. It's almost as if there are 10 sacks of feathers come out of the sky. He says they're just coming and coming and coming past my window. There are no birds. It's just a mass of feathers. And that was his confirmation. So that one little feather was your confirmation. So yes, people can and do, people in the spirit world can and do send us our signs and our messages. Yes.
And Deborah says, it's my parents' anniversary on the 15th.
Well, there you go then. So happy anniversary to them. How nice is that? So that was good to confirm that, Deborah. Okay, so any other questions? Anything else?
Yes. Yeah. Now, Jeannie's asking, is there any way
Hi, Jeannie.
to know if a spirit is with you, and how do we know who our spirit guide is? And can we see hawks I see hawks all the time. Is that a spirit guide to me?
There are about 6 questions in there, actually. All right, well, let's deal with the hawks. If you see hawks all the time and they mean something to you, or you sense them, or you feel that something is connecting with you, then I would say that would be an indication that a hawk is your power symbol. It's your animal power animal, and you can read about that. We have done did we do something on that? I think we did a program on power animals and power symbols.
Yes, we did.
So you need to check through YouTube and check on that, and then come back. I know you'll have a dozen more questions once you've seen the show, so you'll have another lot of other questions to ask. But yes, I would say that the hawk is, I couldn't understand when you said how you say that, pronounce
she
that.
says, I see hawks all the time.
I see hawks. I think that's an indication that that hawks or large birds, maybe specifically hawks, are your power animal. And we all have a power animal, and we all have a power symbol. My power animal is an eagle. My power symbol is a feather. Okay, so we all have them. Now, they don't actually give us, who is this asking this question again?
This is Jeannie.
Jeannie, they don't give us power. They don't come to us to bring us power. They come to us to remind us of the power that we have within us. So we all have the power within us to be whatever it is we want to be. And they remind us continually, all the time, they remind us of the power that we have. So Power animals and power symbols are very important in the Native American culture, very important in the Hindu community, in the Middle East and the Far Eastern communities, but also very, very important for all of us. Once we realize what that means and once we realize what we can do about that, it's very, very important to us. So it's good to know. So yeah, go for the power animal. That's your power animal.
Story time.
Oh, story time. All right. So the reason we put planes, boats, trains is because I do have some stories, and I'm going to tell you first of all a story about what happened to me, and I was in Hong Kong, and I'd gone with friends to watch the fireworks, and the New Year in Hong Kong is usually around the beginning of February. The first or second week in February is the Chinese New Year, and so they have in the harbor in Hong Kong, all the boats come in, boats go out onto the water, lots of boats, large boats, small boats, you name the boats, they're all out there. I've actually been on a boat out in Hong Kong, and Gregor has gone out with me. So yes, our loved ones in the spirit world do come with us wherever it is. They can travel with us on boats, planes, and even automobiles. So this particular time, I was actually standing on the quayside with my friend Kay and her two children and my daughter, and everybody's celebrating and cheering and all the rest of it. And in amongst all of this crowd, and everybody's gazing up to the fireworks, and amongst all of this crowd of people by the quayside, with all of these boats and so on, I see a man from the spirit world. And I see him, and I see his struggle in the water, first of all, in the water, struggling in the water. And my friend Kay, everybody's cheering, everybody's looking at the fireworks, and she takes one look at me and she says, "What's wrong? What are you seeing?" And I told her, I said, you know, there's someone out there on a boat and he's just fallen into the water and drowned. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes." I said, "But there's nothing we can do about it because it's already," I was seeing it as it was happening. The crowd was too dense. There was no way that I could get through. There was no way that I could call the police. There was no way I could do anything at all. But I do believe this was an inevitability. But I saw this man as he was drowning. We went home eventually. I'm afraid it sort of put a damper on for us. So we went and had something to eat a little while later. And we went back home, and sure enough, there on the news that night was this man had fallen overboard on the boat and drowned. And I think probably what was happening was everybody else on the boat was so fascinated and maybe drinking and fascinated with the fireworks and so on and so forth. You know, it's easy for someone to slip off the side of a boat and to get lost at sea. But this was in the actual Hong Kong harbour when this man died. Not the same as traveling, but nevertheless, you know, that was an interesting one for me because there were thousands and thousands of people there. And Grey Eagle put his hand on my shoulder and was able to guide me to this particular boat and to this particular happening as it was happening. Explained to me there was nothing we could do to prevent it. There was nothing we could, it was inevitable. But that this man had gone in amongst all these thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of revelers. I mean, if anybody's been to Hong Kong, you know how many thousands of people are there, too many thousands to count. And in amongst it all, this one happening, this one man was important to God. It was this one man was important to Grail, important enough to bring it to my attention and to say to me, you know, this is happening right now. You know, everyone is enjoying themselves and having fun, and nobody in that crowd was aware of anything untoward happening except for me and, of course, Grey Eagle. So that's one of those stories. It's not about traveling, but it is about boats and planes and so on. Any other questions here? Because I can go to another story also.
Real quick, just to follow up with Deborah. She wants to know.
Hi, Deborah, again. Is this the same Deborah?
Yeah.
Is another Deborah?
Does my dad want me to do something special for my mom for their anniversary?
Of course.
They were married 65 years before he passed.
Well, you do realize that if you have a party, even if it's a family party, you've got to make a cake. If you'd like the recipe, Deborah, for the chocolate cake, my special mocha chocolate cake, which is, Carolyn, would you like to explain about my chocolate cake?
Absolutely delicious.
It's so explosive in your mouth. It's so moist and so. Anyway, if
So
you want
good.
and so easy to make too, as Peggy's going to find out this afternoon. If Deborah, if you want the recipe for the chocolate cake, just email us and Carolyn. You get it before the book comes out, which is, I know we keep saying it's coming. It is coming. Anyway, at some point it's coming, really. But I can share that recipe with you, darling, if you'd like it. And and remember, when you're making, whether it's my cake or any cake, when you're making this cake, your father is actually asking for chocolate cake, so your mum must like chocolate cake. So he would like to tell you, because I have him next to Gregor here, he is telling me he's going to dip his finger in the bowl, like we did when we were kids. He's going to dip his finger in, he's going to be tasting that cake. He will be there, but whatever and however you celebrate. I know your mom is going to be sad. If your dad were alive, we would have been married 65 years. He is alive. He is with you all. He's going to enjoy that cake just as much as you. So, if you want to make him a cake, just let me know and we'll send you the recipe. All right.
Val had a question on your story.
Hello, Val. Yes.
Why did they show you that man's death if you couldn't do anything to prevent it?
Well, simply, it's information, and it's information for me. It's confirmation, because look, I think I've said this before, Val. I am without a doubt, the most skeptical person ever. And I always am looking for, confirmation, with one thing and another. But I think it's more than giving me confirmation. Okay, it was very sad for me to know that someone was drowning as we were watching the fireworks. It was very sad for me to know that. However, from the point of view of the spirit world, someone's celebrating the rebirth of this man. There are celebrations, not just for the new year, for the fireworks, but there's another celebration going on because another soul is going home. And so I was included in that. I was allowed to be a part of that. And I think it's wonderful. I mean, it was a little bit of damper because, obviously, we're human and we don't like that stuff to happen. But at the same time, to be allowed to be a small part of the celebration of somebody going home, somebody leaving this earth plane and going home, was a wonderful thing for me. And here I am, I'm able to tell you this story. And also, I wasn't able to do nothing when I think about it. I was able to send my prayers and my energy for a safe trip for that man and for a safe harbor for him when he reaches his home. So I was able to send out my thoughts and my prayers to him too. And maybe those thoughts and prayers were needed. Do we have another question? Anything else?
Story time again.
So where are all these questions, people? Come on. I mean, let's get going here. All right. So we have another question or no? I'm going to, yeah.
Actually, no, Sarah just has a comment. She says, we need a video on Gray Eagle, his life story and how he became a healer and a guide. What a great idea.
Do we? Do we need that? I know. I don't need it, Sarah. You might not need it. Would you like it? We could do that too. Maybe in a couple of weeks. We can talk about Grey Eagle and we can talk about his life. He may not want to. He may prefer, that should be a private thing for him. But I'll ask him, and if he says yes, and if he agrees, Sarah, we'll do it. But how nice that you're so interested in him, and how nice that you haven't forgotten, because it's so easy. When we're sitting here, you can see me, but you can't see him. And I love it when people remember to say thank you to Grey Eagle, and I love it when people remember to acknowledge him. So thank you for that. I will ask him, and we'll get back to you. If the answer is, he's not saying anything to me at the moment. So if the answer's no, I'll let you know. If the answer is yes, then we'll just do it. So keep watching the posts, and if it says whatever it says, we'll put it, spirit guides and their stories, you know, we just might be doing. Great, so keep watching. Anything else here? Or shall I go to another? I'm going to go to a weird story here. I'm going to go to a very, very weird story here because, and I might have told this story before, so I'm going to make it brief, but I do want people to understand that when you're in a car, when you're on a plane, when you're in a boat, wherever you are, the spirit world is with us, around us. Even sometimes sitting in the seat next to us, in the passenger seat or in the back seat. If your mother passed and she was a backseat driver, where is she going to be when you're driving? She's going to probably be in the backseat driving again. But they do, our loved ones in the spirit world do travel with us. They're able to travel with us. They're able to climb in with us. They're able to be with us wherever we are and whatever we are doing. But many, 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 many years ago, when I first began this journey, when I first understood and began to understand this journey of mine that I'm on now. 1 second, because I've got my phone is buzzing like crazy, and we're going to ignore it completely. There you go, because I don't know who's calling. All right, so when I was on this journey many moons ago, first started this journey, there were all sorts of questions and so on. But this particular day, I was setting off to go and meet someone, a very important someone to me at the time. Still actually important to me. But you know, the roads it was snow. It was in England. It was snow. It was ice. On the radio, on the news, it was saying, don't go out unless you have to. It's dangerous, road conditions, and so on and so forth. But I was going out anyway, and in a car that was not a new car, in a car that often broke down on me, in a car that was a bit of a wreck, let's say. Yes, I've been there. I've been that person who couldn't afford to get a car fixed or buy a new car. I've been that person. Yes. So here I was, and I was worried. I was concerned. Anyway, I was going anyway. I was driving along the road, and the next thing, I look out this side window. I'm driving and looking out the side, and all of a sudden, this flash, this almost like bluish, reddish flash, whatever it was, so almost blinded me. And I turned and I'm looking, what is that? I turned to the side and I look, what is that? This flashing. And I look back, and then there it was, sitting on in England we call it the bonnet, in America you call it the hood. Sitting on the bonnet of the car was this person. At first I thought it was a child, a small child actually, because very small. But the weird thing about it was that, you know, this person was sort of dressed in sort of gold and what have you, and he wore some sort of weird cone-shaped turban or hat or something on his head, but his back was to me. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh, come on, really? You know, have I gone loopy? Am I dreaming or what? You know, so I slow the car, close my eyes, open my eyes again, and he's still there. What I thought was a boy, it was still there. And then I'm looking at him and I'm saying, are you real or are you my imagination? Remember, I'm a skeptic. Are you real or are you in my imagination? And he turned his head and he looked over his shoulder at me, and I realized it was a tiny man wearing a goatee beard and a mustache, a small Middle Eastern looking man, very tiny. And he looked over his shoulder at me and he smiled at me. And then he turned back, and I heard Grey Eagle say, you're safe. He is going to keep you safe. Now, the rest of that journey I talk about in my book. It was a journey fraught, absolutely fraught with hurdles of one kind or another. The bottom line is I did actually manage to meet my friend 2 hours drive away. We did actually manage to have lunch, and I did actually manage to drive back. In the meantime, through that journey, my car broke down. We had to push it into a garage. It needed a new belt on it, etc., etc. The roads were so bad, and in places they were impassable. On my journey back, I had Grey Eagle, and I had this little man whose name I do not know and never found out his name, sitting on the bonnet of the car, and I had Grey Eagle in the car with me, and I'm driving back, and all of a sudden I hear turn right. Well, right was not where I was going. Straight was where I was going. No, says Grey Eagle, turn right. The man nods, the little man on the bonnet nods, we turn right, we turn left. We keep going. So I end up in the country back roads. I'm 2 hours from home and I'm lost, completely lost. I've got no heat in the car because we could manage to get the car to go, but we couldn't manage the heat. By the time I got home, and I did get home, every road I went on had just been cleared by a snowplow. How amazing is that? And as I pulled into my driveway was on a slope down. As I pulled into the driveway, the car just stopped, cut out completely, and my car slid down all by itself into the driveway, and I couldn't get it going the next day. So yes, I met this person, I had my meeting, I got home, fraught with all sorts, but this little man on my car was my guide. He was my helper. He was the one who knew that there was going to be a problem with me, or lots of problems with me. He was going to make sure that no matter what, it was okay. I've only seen him a couple of times since. Each time since then, I've seen him on a plane. Bit nervous seeing this. You look out of the window and there he is looking back at you through the window. And it does make me wonder, is there a problem with this plane? Because I only seem to see him when I'm on a vehicle, a train, a boat, a plane, whatever it is, in a car, if there are problems. So when I see this little man, lovely little man, who obviously helps me tremendously with my travel, when I see him, I do wonder, is there a problem on this plane? But then I smile, because I know that if this little man is there with me, whatever the problem is, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. Now, I'm sure this doesn't just happen to me. I'm sure we all have our helpers, our guides, our people who guide us and steer us, whether it's family or whoever it is, who get us through one complicated issue after another, because that is what life is about. But okay, so I've had experiences of people on planes tapping me on the shoulder, giving me messages, but in this particular instance with this little man, he was flying outside the plane. There was no magic carpet that I could see anyway, but he was flying outside the plane, just letting me know that whatever went on, I was going to be safe, it was going to be fine, and I was going to get to my destination in one piece. Okay, any other questions? Anything else we need here?
Yes, you have a question from Ambra again.
Hello, Amber.
Is it possible to travel to the edge of crossing over to the next spirit world with a loved one?
Yes, I've done it many times. In fact, I've not only been to the edge, I've been over the edge. I've been allowed, I'm very fortunate, I've been allowed to actually participate. I had a patient, Marjorie. Marjorie was a darling. She had cancer. She was my patient for a number of years. And at the very end, she was very, very frightened. And I went this one particular day, and she asked me, do you think Gregor would let you come with me? Because she was on the point of actually leaving. And I said, and she said to me, do you think Gregor would let you come with me? Could you come with me? Could you take that journey with me? I'd feel so much better if you were with me. And I said, I'll ask Grey Eagle and I'll let you know. And so Grey Eagle said yes. So I said to Marjorie, I'm going to be with you. Don't worry, I'm going to be with you. Now, I do tell this story in The Eagle and the Rose about Marjorie. And so I sat with Marjorie's husband this one particular night. I sat all night. And when I knew that, you know, I was no longer needed, that she needed that time with her husband, just the two of them, I left about 11 o'clock or something in the night, that night. And I woke early the next morning, very early the next morning. In the meantime, I'd had this experience. I found myself in a room. There were lots and lots and lots of chairs. It was a very long room, and there were lots of chairs back to back, a little bit like if you're a kid and you play musical chairs. There were all these chairs back to back, filled with people. And I was way, way down at the end of the row, way down on the very end of the row. Okay. And everybody was looking towards what looked to me like a wall or space, whatever. Everybody was looking and waiting, and people were excited. You could hear people murmuring. At first I'm thinking, where am I? What's going on? And then I noticed that the people who were at the far other end of the row where I was sitting, way, way up in the room, they would talk amongst themselves, and then they would look down at me, and then they'd talk to each other again, and then they'd look down at me, and they kept staring at me, and kept thinking to myself, what? They looked familiar to me, these people. One or two of them at least looked familiar to me. But I'm thinking, what's going on then? All of a sudden, the room erupted, buzzing, chatting, laughing. And as I watched, I saw this woman coming. It's sort of a bit odd, really, to say this, but it's almost like coming through a chute in the wall, like a chute. She came, she landed on her feet. And for a moment, I'm thinking, wow, who is this person? She radiated light. I'm thinking, it was hard to see through the light to see who she was. And then all of a sudden I realized, this is, oh my goodness, it's Marjorie. It's Marjorie. And the reason I didn't recognize her was because the Marjorie I knew was yellow. She was jaundiced. She had no hair. She had no teeth. She was very, very ill. You know, this person, I'm looking at this person who is bright and shining and smiling, and her face is full and glowing. And all the people at the far end on this row of chairs get up to her, and she opens her arms to them. They open their arms to her, and they gather her to them. And as they're gathering her to them, one of these people, a man, looks at me and smiles. And I recognize a man I'd spoken to many times, given messages to Marjorie many times from this man. This was her father. And he looked at me and he smiled. And I'd like to think that he smiled in a way of thanking me for being Marjorie's healer and for being Marjorie's friend. And so I was there and having that experience with them, When I came back into my body, bang, into bed, eyes wide open, and within, I'm going to say within seconds, the phone rang. And it was like really early in the morning, 5:30, something like that in the morning. And I grabbed the phone. I said hello. I knew who it was, and it was Marjorie's husband. She just passed 5 minutes ago. She just passed. I thought, you're the first person I'm letting you know. And I said, I know. I've been there with her. I've seen her, and she looks radiant. So yes, it's possible to go to the edge. It's possible even to go with someone from time to time if you're allowed to. Sometimes it's not possible, but yes, it happens all the time. Thank you for that question. Any other questions here that we have going on?
No, I don't see any right now.
No comments, no questions. Did I stun everyone into
Karen joined you.
silence? Hello, Karen. Where's your question? Is it my Karen or is it somebody else's
Your
Karen? It's my Karen. Hi, Karen. I'm making chocolate cake this afternoon. Ooh, and I'm making rack of lamb, Karen. She loves rack of lamb. So anyway, so I just thought she'd
Rub it in.
Yeah, I thought I'd rub it in. And I'm laughing because in a couple of weeks, when it is my birthday, my grandson, my daughter, she'll say to me, "What am I, chopped liver? Now you've got your grandson." My daughter and my grandson are coming just for a few days for my birthday, and she's already got her requests. The menu is already set. Duck à l'orange, which I make a beautiful orange sauce with this roast duck, and what else? Rack of lamb, herb encrusted rack of lamb, and something else. Oh, lobster. Yes, we have got to have the lobster. So that's our menu for the few days. She's only here for 4 days, so that's 3 days. That's for dinner. I don't know what we're doing for lunch yet, But I'm going to guarantee you that my grandson and I are going to be cooking, and my daughter, we're all going to be cooking in my nice kitchen. Sorry, Karen, I wish you could be here. All right, let's have our next story about boats and planes and so on. There is a great story about flying back, and I think I was flying back from Hong Kong, if I remember correctly. I was on a plane and it was packed. This plane was jam-packed, okay? And so I always try and request either a window seat or an aisle seat. Well, this time I got an aisle seat. 3 seats in a row. There was a lady sitting at the window. There was a very tall, big guy, not fat, but a big guy sitting in the middle seat. And as I get to my seat, he's sitting in my seat. So I say to him, you need to move. And he says, would you mind sitting in the middle seat because I'm really big? And I said, too bad, sorry, no. I'm not so generous, you see, all the time. So I made him sit in the middle seat. Anyway, we start talking. Now, coming back from Hong Kong, it's a 16 hour flight, depending on the wind, on the, whether you're going into the wind or coming back or whatever. Anyway, so it's a good long journey. And so we start to chat. We're in the air, we start chatting, dinner comes along, we're still chatting. He's talking about him, and he calls this lady his mom. She's this sort of more like a surrogate mom, but she, she's helped bring this man up. Okay, we're chatting, we're talking, and all the rest of it. And then I say at some point, okay, well, excuse me, but I'm going to read and then I'm going to go to sleep. So I lay back in my seat, read for a bit, then I pull the blanket over me and I'm trying to sleep. And remember, we're thousands of miles up in the air at this point. Tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. And I thinking, no, I don't care who you are, whoever it is, I'm not interested, go to sleep. I want to talk to David. I hear this voice. I want to talk to David. So I ignore this person completely. And I say, I'm going to sleep, leave me be. Tap, tap, tap on the shoulder. I just want to give a message to David. Can you give a message to David for me? No, tap, 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 tap. A half an hour later, it starts again. This is Michael. Can you give a message to David? This goes on for a good couple of hours and I cannot sleep because every time I think he's gone, he taps me on the shoulder again and starts again. In the end, I promise, just for the sake of getting a good night's sleep, I said, I don't know who you are and I don't know what you want, but this I'll promise you, if you leave me alone and I can get some sleep in here, in the morning, I will talk to you and I'll see if I can help you. So that was fine. He said, and this guy says to me, well, I'm Michael and I just want to tell David that I know about the ring. I said, okay, I've got you. Let me go to sleep and I'll talk to you in the morning. Cutting a very long story, very short, and in the Eagle and the Rose, you can read this story. It's a great story. It's a wonderful story, actually. I think, were they twins, these boys? Yes. They were twins, okay. So the guy sitting next to me is grumbling and grousing because he's got the middle seat and I won't let him have my seat. So we start to chat and it turns out, and this is in the morning, and his mother is very interested in what I do because now I'm thinking, I realize that Michael in the spirit world wants me to give a message to David, the guy in the middle seat here. So I start to chat and we start to chat. And then fortunately, this lady says to me, so what do you do? And I told her what I did. So David says, I don't know Miss David at this point. David says, oh, my mother's very interested in this. Why don't you switch places with her? Give me your seat. And you can talk. No, we can talk over you, I say. We're good. Because I know that at some point I have to talk to David and he has to be exactly where he's sitting right now. So we talk, we chat, and so on and so forth. And at some point, when I feel comfortable, I say to him, I said, you know, you're going to probably find this really weird. He's telling me he doesn't believe in any of this. His mother believes in it, every word I'm saying, whether it's real or not. I say to him, you know, you probably won't believe in this. And then I tell him about my sleepless night and the tapping on the shoulder. And I say to him, I don't usually do this, and especially not with strangers. And I hope I'm not going to upset you, but I do have to tell you this because I made a promise to Michael. He looks at me, he says, Michael? I said, yes, this man I've been telling you about has been tapping me on the shoulder. Are you twins by any chance? And he sort of looks at me, and his mother gasps, and he looks at me, and he's now not saying anything. And I say, all I can tell you is this: Michael, your twin, wants me to tell you that he knows that you're wearing his ring. And that was it. I mean, that wasn't it actually, but that was it. This man started blubbering. He was so emotional. And I held on to him. I held his hands, and I thought, gosh, I hope I've not upset him too much. And then it finally hit him. How could you know this? How could you know? How do you know this? How could you know this? And that began at least a 3 or 4 or even a 5-hour conversation on and off with this man, Michael, giving messages upon messages upon messages to his brother and to this lovely lady who is their surrogate mother, and letting them know that this is real, that Michael has survived. We end up, the whole plane around us, surrounding us, now knows what's going on. Everybody's sort of got their ear like this, leaning over, listening. Then David decides, can I take a video of you? So he takes a video, and then other people on the plane are also listening and making comments. Michael was on that plane with us, with his brother David, who happened also to be his twin, as I've said. He was on that plane for the entire time, for the entire journey, for the entire 15 or 16 hours that it took us to get from Hong Kong. And I'm sure when David got off the plane, I'm sure Michael got off the plane with him. I went one way, they went another way. But how wonderful for him, sitting on a plane, not expecting anything, thinking the journey was going to be a really long one and really boring. And it turned out, number one, not to be boring. And it turned out also for them not to be long enough, because I could have sat with them for a week and it still wouldn't have been enough for them. Does the spirit world travel on planes and boats and planes? If we do, they do. Okay? If we're on a bike, they're on a bike with us. If we're walking, they're walking with us. But the fascinating thing is that you don't, or I certainly didn't at that point, expect to have a conversation, a full-fledged, total, long, hours-long conversation with people in the spirit world when I'm thousands of miles up in the air, and they are there and they're comfortable and they're having the journey of their lives, as well as David and his mother having the journey of their lives. I'm pretty sure wherever they are, I know they're in England somewhere, I'm pretty sure that wherever they are, they have never forgotten that journey of a lifetime. Okay, any more comments? Any more questions?
Chris is here.
Hello, Chris.
That is your friend, Chris.
Oh, I'll get back to you, Chris. I know you've been trying to get hold of me. Sorry, I saw you yesterday twice. I was asleep. I didn't get back to you, but I will. Yes, what did she say?
She was wanting to know whether or not you had told the boat story yet.
The boat story?
Yes, the Egypt story.
Oh, the Felucca. Oh my goodness, I forgot about that story. Wow, no, I haven't, Chris. Thank you. This is the best story yet. Thank you for reminding me of that. So here I was in Egypt, and I was there for 3 or 4 weeks with a friend, and we went down to the Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens. We stayed at the old, if anybody goes to Egypt, there is the new hotel, not so new anymore, because this is good 15 years or so ago, probably more than that. But anyway, if you go to Egypt, there is a newer hotel, which is called the King Farouk Hotel. But there is another hotel, which was actually the palace of the old King Farouk. So it's the old palace of the old King Farouk, and that's where you need to stay, because it is the most amazing, the most fantastic, and oh God, it's one of the best hotels I've ever been in, ever. throughout the world when I've traveled. It's a fabulous place. Anyway, here we are. We're down in the Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens. And I want to go on a felucca. I want to sail on the River Nile on a felucca. A felucca is F-A-L-U-K. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I think I am. A felucca is one of these sort of it's a small boat with a central pole in the middle with a sort of sails that go up this pole. Okay. Well, we arrived there, and the one thing I want to do is go out on a felucca, but there's no wind. And we're told there's been no wind for 3 days. So we wait, and each day we go down to the river, and no, there are no boats going out because there's no wind. And if there's no wind, the sails can't go up. And these boats, you know, you can't go anywhere with them. They don't have paddles or oars. They have like a long pole that if you get stuck somewhere, they can push you here and there, but they rely on the sails. So the river Nile is practically empty of boats, and all the feluccas and all these boys with these feluccas, they're not making any money because they're relying on tourists. So for 3 days, they've not made any money, and they've not done anything to make any money, and it's a bad time for them. 3 days go by. On the 4th day, it's our last day on the River Nile. It's our last day before we go back to Cairo. To Cairo. So anyway, there we are, and I'm fed up, and because I really want this experience. So I say to my friend, let's just get on the boat anyway. These two young men, think we're nuts, obviously, but they're going to take our money. We're waving our money about. We say, just take us along. They're explaining to us that the only thing they can do is take us on the boat, and all the boats that are moored by the side of the River Nile, they get this pole and they start to push us along the River Nile, pushing the boats and trying to push us out. We can float back in, and they try to push us out. And we're going down the River Nile with them just basically hanging on and dragging us down the River Nile alongside all the boats that are moored along the side of the river. I'm sitting there. This is not what I want at all. This was not the experience I wanted. So I say to Grey Eagle, so what can we do then? So I go to the far end of the boat, and I begin to, you would call it, if you saw me doing it, you call it meditating, but really I'm just sitting there and quietly talking to Grey Eagle and just, saying, okay, what can we do? What can we do? And Grey Eagle says to me, remember what I said earlier? So this ties in very nicely, actually, the power of the mind. With the power of the mind, he says, you want wind? Create wind. And that's what I did. The boys on the boat were looking at me strangely, very strangely, because they knew something was going on. The sails started to flap. The sails started to flap some more. Then they started to flap some more, and the more I tried, the more the sails flapped, until all of a sudden there was so much wind. These boys couldn't look at me. They couldn't look at me. They were so frightened of me. Sails were up. Every felucca on the river was out on the river. People were shouting and cheering and having a great time. And I said to Grey Eagle, thank you. We had a great time. You want to know more about that story, more in detail? Again, I think the story is in the Eagle and the Rose, so you all have to go now and get reading. All right, I think we're done. I'm not sure. Do we have any? What?
One question.
Quick question then?
Yep, we have one question left. It's from Laurel. She says, can a person's soul or spirit leave the body way before they die? Someone in a vegetative state due to dementia.
Yes, and I've seen it happen often, and I've talked to people in that state too. So yes. Anything else?
That was it.
So yes, Lauren, was it, or Laura? Laurel. So yes, there is also. I'm pumping this book in the Eagle and the Rose. There's a great story. There are lots of stories in all of the books about that, but yes, it happens very, very often, especially when someone's in a coma or in a vegetative state. Yes, in that instance, we can leave our body. We can actually travel. No, not permanent. No, no, no. When we permanently leave, that's it. The breath goes from our body, that's it. So no, but we can go out, we can leave our body, we can travel, we can explore, we can be with our families, we can see what's going on. But the cord, it's when the cord breaks, when our last breath, physical breath is taken, the cord breaks, and that's it. And then we can't come back in. But in a vegetative or a coma state, something like that, we can go back and forth, and people do it very, very often. Maybe we'll have a subject about that, a topic about that. Next week, our topic is going to be...
What do the children in the spirit world see, and what can they teach us?
What do the children in the spirit world see? Do they help children hear? How do they react to us? I've got great stories. I will leave you with this little tidbit of a group of children who came to one of my classes once, and they were talking about something that they'd seen an adult do, and their collective response was, "We don't like you anymore." It reminds us we have to be good and kind at all times, not just talk about it. We not only have to have faith, we have to live our faith. In the meantime, because we're so running out of time,
could you just put a note that while we do try our best to answer all questions,
we do try our best to answer all the questions, but we have so many, and there are so many people wanting to know so many things, which is why the stories sometimes, so we can't get to everyone's questions, but we will in time endeavor to answer as many questions as we can. I'm only one person here. We're three people on the sofa, and there are lots of you out there, and just us here just dealing with this. So please, if you have a question and you want it answered and we don't get it answered live on here, you can always email us and we'll do our best to answer you there too. So be nice to us, be reasonable, understand I'm just one little person here doing all of this. All right. If you want to contact us, email rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. We're on Facebook. You can find on Facebook the link to everything else that we do. Meetup. We are on Meetup. Hi to everyone on Meetup. We are on, where else we're on? We're on Facebook, Twitter, Meetup, and of course YouTube. And today I'm cooking, so check out your Facebook page, because you may just see a chocolate cake being stirred, mixed. You may see Peggy in the kitchen with me stirring, mixing the chocolate cake. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. We hope that you've been as interested in this subject as we are. In the meantime, please, 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 please. Oh, and the soul science is almost there.
We're waiting on
the first proof coming back from the printer. In the meantime, please have a very, very blessed day. I just can't find the button.